All right, so the corrective action plans and target completion dates. Anytime you have a finding, you need to have a corrective action plan. In the spring of 2021, we started increasing our expectations on the corrective action plans and as well as the target completion dates. As a matter of fact, we talked about it right here in last year's spring info session. During recent TPO recertification, where the Coast Guard looked at us, our review to be a TPO, they actually discussed and looked at some of our findings and our processes, and actually not just high-level questions. There were high-level questions, but there were specific examples. They were like, okay, tell us about this finding. Okay, what did you do? Why did you allow that time frame? So these things are going on. So when we talk to you and ask you about time frames, or hey, I think this time might need to be, compressed down a little bit tighter, or do you really need 90 days to apply a watertight door label to a door? Probably not. But what do you need? And now we're not here to really direct you what you should have, but we just ask you, we're obviously going to exercise our oversight responsibility, but to think through what do you really need to address the issue. Sometimes you have to order something to correct an issue, and we understand that. Most of the people on our staff, or at least many of us, have been involved in the marine industry, and we know what it's like to have logistical issues where you need something. Now someone has to order it through purchasing has to get it, and they either going to have it drop shipped straight to wherever you want it put on the boat, or maybe sent back to your warehouse where it's put on a pallet and then it goes out to a boat with all the other supplies. So we get that. We understand that sometimes it might actually be 30 days before you can put a sticker on a door. We get that. We understand. Just put it in the corrective action plan so we can articulate back and understand down the road, 4 or 5 years when we're doing COI renewal, if Coast Guard's looking at this, it makes sense as to why something took it like it did. Hopefully that helps. Stuff in here. What is a written, what is a corrective action plan? Well, we talk a lot about finding statements, but the corrective action plans are really just as important as the finding statement. It needs to accurately describe what you did or what you're going to do to address the issue. I have some examples here. As you see there, about third point down, talks about include the necessary who, what, where, when, how, why, that kind of, those descriptives. And as I say, we're not looking for a literary work, but we definitely need enough description there to understand what it is you did or what it is you're going to do. I have some examples, so just to give you an idea here. So we'll fix the door, or it doesn't even have we'll fix the door. These are real examples, by the way. Well, that's not a really good corrective action plan. I get it, you're going to fix the door, but what's your plan to get the door fixed? Those are the dots that we need to get connected. Or we'll ensure voids are maintained according to TISMS. That's great. You were supposed to have already been doing that. So what is it that you're going to do in this corrective action plan to make sure you prevent reoccurrence? These are the kind of things we need to help. You need to start thinking through and help drawing the dots through and connecting these things out. Lights and wiring were fixed. That's great. Give us a little bit more meat on the bone there. What was done? If it was just guarding, okay, great. I installed the guarding, or we removed the dead end wires, whatever. Add the extra stuff in as to who came in and did it. Our port engineer, went to the boat and did X on X date. Just add those extra descriptives. Remember the who, what, where, when, how, and then the why, or whichever is appropriate to your scenario. And on the right, you can see some better examples. Vessel crew will use epoxy sealant to temporarily repair door and frame to prevent water from leaking in. Management will purchase a new door and have it installed at shipyard. I can pretty much understand what they're going to do there. I don't know what shipyard, but maybe that's not super important. I know they're going to go to a shipyard. It looks to me that's a little bit more descriptive. I think you all would agree with that. The next one here is, mark the watertight door hatches on both sides and how they're going to do it. Watertight hatch, keep closed with 1-inch lettering as required by the regulation. Using pre-made company signage, the chief engineer marked the watertight hatch on both sides as required. It's a little more descriptive, but these are real statements that we've gathered to show you. So target completion dates should be risk-based and they need to be defined. So evaluate each one independently. The days of putting 90 days on every finding and send us the report, those days are gone. Okay, we need to know what you're going to take for this one, this one, this one, this one, all the way through. Risk-based approach. How much time is reasonably needed? I gave you the whole purchasing and all that whole scenario. So we get that, we understand. Are there any risk mitigating factors or temporary measures in place? That can make a big impact. Like that previous example, they use the temporary measure to use an epoxy to temporarily repair the door. Well, temporary measures can be made. Let's say life jacket signage isn't in place. Well, there's probably some painter's tape or something around on that boat. You can do something temporarily, put up some tape, mark on there, 2 adult PF life preservers inside. So you got at least you got temporary signage until your permanent signage gets there. So there's just ways to think around that and think through that process. But make sure your corrective action plan supports the target completion date that you want to do.